So, are you having trouble figuring out when you should start taking your Social Security benefits? Let's talk through that a little bit in the next Wealth and Whiskey video. Welcome to Wealth and Whiskey. I'm Roger Kiger. I've been a financial planner for about 30 years, helping folks build their wealth and protect their legacies. And over that time period, I've learned to be aged and quite a bit unfiltered. So the Wealth and Whiskey channel is about disclosing sort of all aspects of wealth management, right? But today I wanted to respond to some questions and clarify some facts about Social Security, because we get asked about that a lot. I have a lot of people say, hey, I paid into this, it's my money, I want it before it's gone. It's a valid concern, but before you go down that path, let's just clarify a few things about that. And I know we can read all the statistics that say that the Social Security fund is going to be empty in 10 years or 12 years or 8 years, depending on what you're reading. But it's an obligation from the federal government to give us this benefit. So I have to believe that that obligation will be paid from somewhere else if the fund is empty. I don't know that for sure, but it is my belief that those benefits will be paid by the federal government at some point. However, are they going to tax us on it? Sure. Does the benefit go up or is it adjusted for income? Absolutely. Well, what factors do we consider when we're trying to determine when to take that Social Security? Let's talk through a few data points first. So the full retirement age, if you were born after 1960, the full retirement age in the United States is age 67, which is when you're eligible for your full benefit. And the full benefit is based on your past income, right? And if you made more than 100, and for 2026, anybody making more than $184,500, they don't get any additional Social Security benefit. All right, so there's an income cap even though you paid more in taxes, you don't get more in Social Security at that cap. It started years ago and it's increased for inflation every year. This year, it's about $185,000. So you're only going to get some benefit based on that amount of income. Now, the benefit, if you start taking it, you can start taking it at age 62, 64, 65. Anything after age 62, you can start taking it. But frankly, that benefit goes up about 8% a year, all the way up until age 70. So 67 is probably the earliest you should take it because it gives you that full retirement age benefit, but it keeps going up 8% a year until age 70. After age 70, the benefit doesn't go up anymore, so there's no reason to wait longer than that to take your Social Security. So here's the part that makes a lot of people a little angry, and I get it, is they tax your Social Security. Now, and I'm not going to go through all the tax rates and all the tax brackets, but typically, if a married couple files a joint tax return, for their income less than $32,000 a year, they don't pay any tax on their Social Security, right? That's the benefits you get. Your Social Security is not taxable. At $32,000 to $44,000 a year, you're going to pay about a 50% tax on your Social Security benefit. And any income you have over $44,000 a year, you have to pay 85% of your Social Security benefits are taxable. It's not an 85% tax. You pay tax on 85% of your Social Security benefits at your current income bracket. Can be a lot of tax. So what would, again, trying to determine what would affect your decision and when to take it, put it off as long as you can, really will work out better financially because it's growing by 8%. The other factors are, do you need the money, right? If you need the money for retirement or you need the money to pay bills, you got to take it. That's kind of a no-brainer. So let's move past that. The next one that's more strategic is the tax bracket, right? If you're making a lot of money for the next year or two you haven't retired, you're probably going to be in a higher tax bracket, which means you're going to pay more tax on your Social Security income. So even though you might be eligible to take the Social Security, doesn't mean it's a great idea if you're in a really high tax bracket. So the longer you can put that off, probably the better. Another thing I've seen affect that is if people are retired and they're doing Roth conversions to try to reduce the amount of their required IRA distributions by age 73, those Roth conversions are added to your taxable income, which again puts you into a higher tax bracket, which by default makes your Social Security taxable. So if you're doing some strategic planning, all these things come into play. They all need to be factored into that. And then, the last thing that we really always talk about, frankly, is life expectancy, right? The IRS and the federal government has some number or some age that statistically we will live to. Women live longer than men. Typically, they'll live to age 88. Men typically live to age 83. So how do you get more out of Social Security? You live longer than those statistics. So if you're going to live longer, wait for that benefit to be the highest. But if you think there's some chance you're not going to live to those dates, you probably want to go ahead and start taking the benefit sooner rather than later, so you get more years of a lower benefit, but it's still more years. That math usually works out better if you think you're not as healthy or you're going to make it to those statistical ages. So that's a lot to unwrap, a lot to think through, right? But the comment about, or the question that I get so often about, is whether or not the Social Security is going to be there. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure the Social Security fund will be there, but I think the benefit will be there. So making a decision on when to take your benefit based on whether or not the fund is there, I think can be misleading and can frankly cause you to lose out on some of the income that you worked all your life to get, right? Now, for those of you that are retired and you're still trying to figure out whether or not to take that benefit, I will put an exception to my recommendation. That exception is if we get some notification that Congress is they're voting on some rule or law that says they're going to reduce the Social Security benefits or do away with them. That's a good indication. Maybe you should go ahead and start your benefit, because I think it's harder to take a benefit away from somebody that's receiving it than it is to reduce the benefit from somebody that's going to get it in the future. I don't see that happening, but if we get an inkling or an inclination that Congress is going to start reducing or taking away our Social Security benefits, go apply for them and try to get those in place as soon as you can. But again, I think that's a little extreme. I don't see that happening, but it always, it's better to pay attention and be aware of this stuff when it happens. So anyway, that's, 5 or 10 minutes of Social Security information on a topic that really is justified in taking a much longer discussion. I just wanted to hit the highlights and try to avoid or prevent a little confusion about, when to take your Social Security, because it's a really important thing. So there's a lot to pay attention to, right? All this stuff takes a lot of time and work and energy, and there's a lot to learn. So be patient, diligent, and do your homework and ask the right questions, right? So if we can help you start your financial journey, by all means, download the Legacy Blueprint in the link below. And we'd really appreciate it if you like and share our Wealth and Whiskey channel. And please join us for future conversations. We just don't want you to miss anything. So thanks so much. Appreciate your time as always. And cheers. We'll see you again soon.